I've already stuttered the intro of this video 10 times, now 11 times. I don't know what is wrong with me, but I keep stuttering through this intro. But the 13th, but let's try again. Dust yourself off and try again. Welcome back, you guys. I am super excited for today's video, and I know you probably are too, because it is my end of the year eyeshadow palette ranking, where I'm going to talk about all of the palettes that I picked up in 2024, and I'm really shocked, to be honest, at how many palettes I bought. And while my wallet might hate it, my heart doesn't, because I love eyeshadow palettes so much. So let's go ahead and get into it. If this is your first time here, hi, my name is Heather, and I really do love all things makeup, but especially colorful makeup and indie brands. And if you guys love those things too, I really hope you will subscribe. And don't forget to click the little bell so you can be notified of all my future uploads. I'm really shocked at the amount of palettes that are in today's video, because we're at a whopping 113. I did get a couple of them in PR, and if I did, I'll pop it up on the screen for you guys. I also have codes with some of these brands, and I will pop that up on the screen as well, and it will also be down below in my description box. So I have 113 palettes here, but during Black Friday, I kind of blacked out and went nuts. There's several palettes that I either bought myself for Black Friday or Amanda bought me for Christmas that I actually did not put in this ranking because I have not used them yet. But I do have a 4 looks video coming up soon, and that is where I created this look. And I'm going to start using the palettes that way and try to incorporate a couple of those videos a month. That way we can all get some inspiration out of our older palettes, and I hope you guys will enjoy those videos. So before we get started, I do have a disclaimer, and it is about Ensley Reign. So most of you that have been here throughout the last year, you know that I started trying Ensley Reign this year, and I was excited when I got a code with them. They were one of my top favorite brands, but because of everything that is going on, I chose to have my code closed, and I no longer have a code with the brand, and I've decided to take a step back and not showcase them on my channel, at least for the time being. I'm hoping that they're able to fix the mess that they have caused, because unfortunately our values and ethics no longer align, and neither do our business practices. If you don't know what is going on with Ensley Reign, I really don't want to get into it, because this isn't a drama channel, and honestly, this is my place to get away from that, and I hope you guys can find that type of piece here as well. But I will recommend 2 videos from 2 different creators that I trust and seem to be like very good, honest people to me, and I've watched them both for years. They have both done videos on the situation with Ensley Reign, and that would be Jen Loves and Robert Welsh. I will link both of their videos down below, and I highly recommend that you check them out. And Jen Loves, I love her. She is so good at like doing deep dives and stuff. Like, Robert Welsh is an icon, but I've learned so much through watching Jen Loves. I love her. I've watched her since the very beginning of my love for makeup started, and I could not recommend her channel more, to be honest. But I just wanted to throw that out there. So I did a poll on my YouTube channel on my community tab, and I asked you guys whether or not you wanted me to leave the palettes in for this ranking or take them out. Honestly, I was so overwhelmed with the decision that is why it is the end of January and I'm just now filming the video. But I explained the situation to all of you, and you guys have voted to keep them in, and we have 62% that said keep them in, 22 said they don't care either way, and then 16% said to take them out. So what I'm going to do is, because I did use the palettes in 2024 and I love the formula and I love the palettes, I am going to keep them in. But from now on, I will not be talking about Ensley Reign on my channel for the foreseeable future, at least until you know, our values can align and they can make everyone feel welcome with their brand. And please know, if you do not agree with me taking a step back from the brand, I completely respect your right to have a choice. I just ask that you respect mine as well, and do not leave any rude comments. I don't like deleting comments, but I will when they're rude. I've gotten them before, and I really just don't understand the nerve that some people have. And like, you could be anything in the world. Why do you want to be mean? That's what this whole thing started with, was somebody being inconsiderate, a brand being inconsiderate of other people's rights and their feelings. So this channel is not a place for that. And if you find yourself wanting to be rude to myself or anyone else in the comments, then I kindly ask that you just click out of the video. Now, with all of that being said, hopefully I have not offended anyone. If you feel offended, just know that is not what I am trying to do. I am just doing what is best for me and what aligns with my values. And I hope that you guys can respect that. Thank you guys for being a part of the vote and everything. It really did help me out a lot. So now we're going to get into the ranking. This is a brand that I really freaking love. I actually even have a code with them, and it's Nomad Cosmetics. So I really love their formula, and if you like a color story from them, I recommend all of their palettes except for this one. This was such a miss, and I know a lot of you have like said that you take stuff out and everything and you just like put better shimmers and stuff in the palette, and I understand why you would want to do that to like save yourself money, but this palette sucks so bad. The color story is beautiful. I love the concept. I don't even know what it's called. Verona Amor Immorte. I'm probably butchering that. I love the like day and night side, or love and death. I think it's so beautiful. But these shimmers are so hard pan that they are unusable, and I tried so hard to make them work, but it's a no-go. And I feel bad because Amanda bought me this as like a gift. I think it was Valentine's Day, but it's just so bad. And I was so shocked because I do own quite a few Nomad palettes, and I just don't like that one. And it makes me feel really bad to put this one next to it at 112. It's one of their travel palettes. This is one that I did get in PR. So there's nothing wrong with the quality of this. It's got a great formula. Their normal, like, great Nomad formula. This just is not my color story. I think it's ugly personally, but if you like it, please don't take no offense, but I will never use this, and I know I won't. So honestly, this one is coming in at number 11, but this one should probably be number 12. I mean, number 112, and this one should be 111. I might have got them mixed up because I have tried to film this several times and had to reapply sticky notes and deleted the footage because it just made me too anxious, which is, it sucks. But this is the Glam Like Kiss Rock and Roll palette. This was the most disappointing release of the year, 100%. The color story, I love it. I love the theme, but this does not have their good formula in it. And I paid a lot of money for this full collection, and there is not one single piece of it that I actually like. I do plan on eventually, when I have time, starting a Mercari page and selling the palettes that I bought myself that I don't like, because the only one I don't like that I got in PR is this one, but I will give it away instead of selling it. That just feels icky to me, but that's a personal preference. But this palette was disappointing. The shimmers, they're so dull, and they have such a gorgeous shimmer formula. I will show them to you once I get to some of the better ones, because they definitely have some up at the top. But do you just see? They're so like dull and lackluster. It was so disappointing. So that one definitely deserves to be in 111. Okay, so these next two, we have number 109 and number 110. Actually, this is 110, this is 109. So these are from Clarity Cosmetics, and I don't even know why I'm trying to hold them up like that. But I was so excited to try this brand. And the palettes are beautiful, like the color stories are beautiful. I do have a video on one of these. I think it was this one. So these came completely shattered. And I had a situation with customer service. I did have package protection, but I thought I fixed the palette because I repressed the shades. But as you can see, they all just fell out again. But they were trying to offer me $10 for 2 shades and wanted to, said that they didn't have any more palettes in stock when they actually did. But that's not even why I haven't bought anything else from them. I haven't picked up anything else from them right now because my comment section on that video got blown up with negative comments about this brand and their customer service, and some of them were horrifying. So I'm just gonna wait and see like what people say and if it's gotten better. I will say I did like the formula a lot. It's just the reason it ranked low is because they're broken and unusable, and the whole situation just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. But from what I used, the formula is really beautiful, and they do have some really great color stories. So I'm not like saying I'll never buy from them, but for now, there's no point when there's other brands, and I feel like they're more inclined to make it right when something isn't up like to par or broken. So coming in at number 108 is the Pokemon and ColourPop collab. So this one isn't bad. ColourPop just doesn't have like a formula that I love anymore. I used to love them, and what made this one rank lower is the pressed glitters that are in this palette. I do have somebody in my life that wants this, and I am going to give it to her, but this one's just a no for me. And I'm so sick of rainbow palettes, guys. I'm over them. I mean, it's not the bad ColourPop formula, though. So if you are into the color story and you like it, I think you'll probably like the palette. Coming in at 107 is the ColourPop Rudolph palette. So this really wasn't bad. I had a I wouldn't say fun time, but I didn't have a hard time working with this palette. The shimmers and mattes and everything worked very well. The reason I rank this low is because I do not like the color story. I bought it because of the packaging. It reminds me of my mom and like us watching the old Christmas movies when I was little, and I liked that, and that's why I picked it up. But it's not my favorite color story. That was a waste of money. So coming in at 106 is the Gourmandizes palette from Gourmand Girls. So you will see a lot of Gourmand Girls towards the top of my ranking because in my opinion they had a lot of hits this year, but unfortunately this just wasn't one of them. The palette is like lacking depth. The color story, while you can get some good looks out of it and some exciting looks, like, you know, two-tone looks, or like you could do a crease with a pop, and that is something I really do love about it, but it doesn't have enough depth for me. It doesn't go light enough in the shimmers for me, and I just think they've done a lot better, and you guys will see that later on. This just wasn't it for me, but I do love Gourmand Girls. Coming in at number 105, we have the Canadian Rockies from Nomad Cosmetics. So this one was really pretty, and I really do like this one. The other stuff in this like ranking just is way higher, but I didn't hate this one. I liked it, and honestly I do plan on keeping it and just like using it for traveling and stuff. That one was really pretty. This one I had fun with as well. It's just not my favorite formula, and it doesn't stand out as much. But coming in at 104 is the ColourPop Lost in Love palette. This one is really pretty. So I did a review on this during Valentine's Day, and it was a video doing like a full face of drugstore makeup, and I had a lot of fun creating a look with this. I think this one is really pretty, but again, if they could please stop with the pressed glitters. This one has 2, and they're beautiful, but not enough. Like, you can't see them really, and it's very sheer. you get like a wash. Coming in at 103 is the DD Signature Sweet Aesthetics. So this has their new matte formula, but the reason this one ranks lower is because I don't care for rainbow like palettes, and the packaging on this one was not very good, and I am happy to say she has better packaging now, but this one just missed the mark for me. But I did create some pretty looks with it, but it's just one of those palettes, like after I was done with it, I didn't pick it up anymore. It just didn't spark like interest, and the artwork on it wasn't very good either. Coming in at number 102 is the Oden's Eye Earthwood palette. So to be honest, these, like the second releases that the collaborators did with the Oden's Eye palettes, I was excited for them, and while they're beautiful and I did love the looks that I created, these palettes just don't stick out in my mind. I don't find the color stories very appealing. Speaking of that, I must have taken this one out of the ranking not thinking. But we can put this beside each other. So this is the Spring Dragon. This one is from Judy. And I keep this in front of me because I do use it for like inner corner shades and stuff. It's great for that. But it will never be a standalone palette. So I probably would have ranked it lower than this one, to be honest. Because I do love some of the shades in this one. This shade takes my freaking breath. So it is called Beauty. And the palette is really good quality. It's just not my favorite color story. So it's going to be a preference thing. If you like the color story, you would like the palette most likely. I will say there's two groups of people. There's people who love the Oden's Eye Shimmer formula, and there are people who hate the Oden's Eye Shimmer formula. Personally, I love the Oden's Eye Shimmer formula. It's one of those things you're going to have to like pick out a palette and try and just see which side of the fence you're on. Coming in at 101 is the Magical Creation from Ladybug Glow. So this is the first, is this the first palette I bought from them? I think so. This one is really, really pretty, and I actually really do recommend this palette. I think it's so gorgeous. I like the like matte to shimmer ratio. The color story is perfect. I will say I have to keep a rubber band on mine. If I hold it open for too long, it won't close back. It just like pops back open. But the palette is beautiful, and I do enjoy her formula. Coming in at number 100 is the Gourmand Girls Secret Grove. So she sent me one of these in PR, and I got one at the Creators and Friends event, and I ended up giving it away in my November ranking. But I did create a look with this. It was supposed to be a collab with Christina, but she wasn't able to do it because she was really sick. So I still have the video. I'm just waiting for her to like get caught back up and all that, because she's been dealing with a lot this year, so I can post the video. But I had a lot of fun with this palette. I think it's really beautiful. The only thing I wish there was more shimmers, but this shimmer right here, I don't know if you can see, like it's like, oh, it's so pretty. It's like that wine shade, but it has like a brown green flip to it, and it's so reflective and just freaking gorgeous. I don't know. Let me pick some more up on my fingers so you can see it like both ways. It's just so pretty. Now we are down to the 9s, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get to like the top palettes and show you guys what my favorites were. Okay, so coming in at number 99, we have the Blend Bunny Cosmetics and Donnie Darkowitz, She Never Misses. Little She Never Misses. So I love the packaging on this. I love like the numbers and stuff. I can't remember exactly what that's called, but I think it's cool. I like it a lot, and I really like this color story a lot. But one thing you will learn about me, if you haven't yet, I don't really care for gradients very much, but I really do love the Blend Bunny formula, and I love their shimmer formula as well. So the reason I ranked this palette lower, because I did really enjoy this, is because the greens on the eye look way too similar, and the same could be said for the purples as well. And these two shimmers, they do have like slight differences, but they are really similar. And you don't even have to take my word for it because I love swatching. So I'll show you. Those are two different shades. One is like a little more red than the other. But they, on the eye, you can't tell a difference. I feel like both weren't necessary. And if they weren't trying to get that gradient so much, I feel like they could have really added in some fun pops. But all in all, they still did a really good job on this. And I think it's beautiful, but I'm so excited to see her, to get her new palette, the plastics. I bought it today, and this is what I've wanted from her. I'm so excited that she's doing a more like curated color story. I honestly think she's gonna knock it out of the park. So, coming in at number 98, this was a first time trying this brand, and it's CXC Beauty. So, I picked up the Bloomstruck palette. They come out with really cool color stories too, but at the end of the day, this is another rainbow palette, and I just really wanted to try the brand. And their formula, their matte formula is really nice, but the shimmer formula isn't bad per se, but it is drier than what I'm used to, and it's not as reflective. That top shade is, but do you see like that bottom one is kind of dull? So I just want to give them a little while and see like when they reformulate and stuff, and then I want to try them again because they really do come out with some really gorgeous color stories. Coming in at number 7, we have the Lethal Cosmetics Mellow Grove palette. So I love the looks that I created with this. I thought they were really pretty, and I'm really into like this like washed out kind of muted color story, but this is another one of those palettes that I used and kind of just like forgot. It's really, really pretty though. I don't know why I forgot it, but because I did, that made me rank it lower. And I like the shimmer formula in this, but it's not my favorite out of the other palettes that are above it. But I don't think it's bad quality either. I did pick up the Dexter collection. I cannot wait to freaking get that in. So excited. But this one wasn't bad. Pretty much all the palettes, including this one down, are all good quality. It's just a preference kind of thing. Or there's like little things that I would tweak like here and there. But yeah, none of these are like bad palettes. I don't think you would hate them. And coming in at number 6, we have the Glamlite Good Guys palette. So I liked this collection pretty much. The packaging on it is 10 out of 10. I mean, when isn't it with this brand? And the color story matches like the vibe of the Good Guys. But I just don't like this color story. I feel like while it matches the theme, it's just not a very like interesting color story. It's actually quite boring, and it doesn't have enough light shades to use on a lighter skin tone, and it has no like inner corner shades for me or anything. It's just, it feels incomplete. But with that being said, if you do like the color story, this is really great quality, and I couldn't recommend it more for that. And the same could be said about number 95, which is the Fresh Prince. I loved the looks that I created with this one, and I like that it has like light shades and dark shades, so you can really get some like depth. And even though there's not like really light shades, you can still get that contrast because you do have those really, really deep shades. The shimmer formula in here is like one of their best. This just feels real close to a rainbow palette. So it's another one of those palettes like I reviewed and forgot about. But if you like this color story, you will love this. I picked it up because I love Fresh Prince. It used to be one of my favorite shows growing up, and it's iconic, so how could I not pick it up? But I wasn't like disappointed in this collection. It was really nice. It's just not a standout palette to me. Coming in at number 94 is the last of those 3 travel Nomad palettes. This is, I can't say it. We'll just call it the OSL palette because I will butcher that. This is my favorite out of the three. I've been loving cool tones, and that even goes for cool tone neutrals. I've had so much fun with them, and out of those three palettes, I can see myself using this one way more often than I can the other two, especially that brown one. It just wasn't my vibe, but this one is really, really beautiful. And I think palettes like this, like if you traveled with this, you could take this and bring like a pop or like a couple of singles to add that pop of color to your looks and really amp them up, in my opinion. And I think it's really fun for that. Coming in at number 93. So I love this palette, and I used it in a video, but I have not used it since. And I'm probably going to declutter it because of that, because it's not a bad palette. So this is the ColourPop Sage the Day. I love this color story very, very much. It's really beautiful, and I like the formula enough. It's like, for drugstore, it's one of the best formulas I've tried recently anyway, and it's really pretty. I just like more impactful types of shimmers, but I will say I do like this palette. I just would like to give it a better home, I feel like, and I'm not like attached to it in any way. Coming in at number 92, I love this palette so much, and it's not been that long since I reviewed it. It's actually coming up in one of my rankings, but it's the Just Desserts palette. This is from Ladybug Glow and Ice Cream Beauty. I loved the looks that I created with this, and you guys did too. And that makes me so happy. But this is such a fun palette, and it's unique, it's scattered, and I love that about it. It makes me feel so inspired, and I had such a great time with it. The reason I'm ranking it lower is because the iridescent shade in both of the palettes, because there's another one that released alongside of it. In swatches, they're really, really beautiful, but on the eye, they're kind of dull, and they almost give you like this cakey look. It's one shade in each palette, but I mean, if it wasn't for that, these would be top palettes for me. But I do have to be kind of picky when it comes to ranking this many palettes, or I'd never get through this. They'd all be ranked in the same spot. Coming in at number 91 is my Glaminatrix Pretty and Pastels. So I love this color story. And this is one instance where I love the gradient that is in this palette. It's beautiful. I love the pastels. They're really good. I love that they added like the mid and deep tones in this palette. And you have the light and mid tones and the shimmers as well. I mean, if you guys have been here for a while, you know like the way I like to do my makeup. I always love having like a mid-tone or deep shimmer for my outer corner. It's my favorite way to do my looks, and this gives me that. So when I reviewed this palette, I used a new primer, and I thought that I almost didn't buy again from Glaminatrix because I thought the shimmers were dull, and I couldn't figure out why they looked so beautiful and impactful and gorgeous in swatches, but they just didn't on the eye. And I have since bought two other palettes from Glaminatrix, and I love them both, and they swatch the same exact way as this palette did, so that tells me that I know it was the primer. But the reason I left it here at the bottom is because I have not tested out that theory yet, so I ranked it basically like based solely on how I felt in the moment the last time I used it. Coming in at number 90 is the Blend Bunny Ellis Atlantis palette. This is a great collab. Love the artwork as well. I love the theming. I love the collaborator, but this is a big palette, and again, I'm so tired of the rainbow palettes. But with that being said, This is the best rainbow palette I have ever tried. They did such a good job on this. The thing that I love about it is, one, the iridescent shades are gorgeous and they look gorgeous laid over different colors and everything. It completely changes them up and makes it to where you could use this palette for like and create so many different looks. I also really love the undertones of the shades they picked. This top row gets me, but so do like these shades here. They're freaking stunning. This is a gorgeous palette. This silver right here is insane. It's absolutely insane. So while it is ranked low, I couldn't recommend it more. It's such a great rainbow palette. It's so beautiful. And now we are down to the 80s. So the hardest part of this ranking, so the easiest part, let's start with that, was the top and the bottom. But when I tell you, I spent like days, 2 days, trying to rank the palettes in the middle. That was so freaking hard because, first of all, I had to put like some of my favorites in the middle because they had to go somewhere. And like there were so many good releases this year, so it was really hard to like pick between them. I went through my eyeshadow palettes that I bought and I laid them as in piles, like favorites, I loved them, buts, and then I hated. And after I did that, I went through the favorites pile and picked out the, like, then ranked them in smaller sections. That way it would make it a little easier, but it was hard. It was really hard because there's some really freaking good palettes in the 80s, 70s, and so on. So starting at number 89 is the Little Mermaid palette from Sigma. So I actually had COVID when I reviewed this, and I think that kind of might have messed it up a little bit for me, but I love this palette. They did such a good job. The shimmers are beautiful. They have a very easy to use matte formula as well. This was their, I think, first time playing with multi-chromes, which I love to see that as well. But it's good. I wouldn't change anything about it if that tells you anything. So coming in at number 88, oh, this pains me. It's the Cosmic Brushes Sinister palette. So they have released so many good palettes this year, but out of the ones that I've tried, which is all of them, this is my least favorite. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad quality. They're one of my favorite brands, but I don't know. Something about it is just not what I wanted, and I can't exactly put my finger on it. Reds and purples are not my favorite. I do like them, but they're not my favorite. But this shade is everything. Let me show you a swatch. And then they did the shade at the bottom that's called Ghost, and I think it's hilarious, and in a way, the funny side of it kind of does add to the palette, but it's like a balm you put on your eye like after your look is done or something. I don't really know or understand it, but it creases, but I think it's meant to. I don't know. It just missed the mark for me. Coming in at number 87, this is one of the first palettes that I tried in 2024, and it's the Gourmand Girls Silent Night. I love this palette. I think it's beautiful. She did such a great job. I love blue and yellow together. It's one of my newfound favorite combos. I love that it goes from really light to really dark. The only shade I don't like in this palette is the shade Frosty, and it's for the same reason as I said in the one from Ladybug Glow. It looks so beautiful in the swatch, but for some reason on the eye it just looks like cakey in a way. I don't know how else to describe it, but I love Gourmand Girls, and I do think it was a beautiful palette, and that was the only issue I had with it. I love their formula. It's very beginner friendly. They have gorgeous shimmers, and I was really happy with the looks that I created with it. So this is number 86, and I haven't posted my video with this yet, but it's ready if you guys still want to see it. So this is from Blend Bunny, and it is with Glisten and Lens Makeup. I do follow Lens Makeup. I'm not very familiar with Glisten though, to be honest. So it's another rainbow palette, but with that being said, I was very happy to see it in a smaller format. And I do like the color story. I like the way it's laid out. The only issue I have is it only has 2 shimmers. And I like, I would have been happy, how many times can I say like, y'all? I would have been happy with 5 shimmers and 10 mattes. That's a good ratio to me. But 2 is not enough. But with that being said, I will say it makes perfect sense for the collaborator because she's a graphic girly. She does some of the best graphic liner. But yeah, it was just a little bit of a miss for me. Coming in at number 85, it's the Siren Sunset from Linner Beauty. I was kind of disappointed in this. The artwork, 10 out of 10. I love the back too. I say that every time I show this palette. But first of all, the packaging is coming apart. Like when I go to pull it, it pulls that corner. It's the color story. It was so disappointing. I was like, yes, he's going to do a blue and purple palette. And he kind of did. But I feel like I liked some of these neutrals in here, especially these 4 because they go really well with the greens, I feel like. And even doing like a 2-tone look, you could do the greens and the browns and the blues or, you know, different things. But there's way too many neutrals in this palette. There's way too many similar neutrals in this palette. And I feel like we needed a lighter purple or some more blues to go with this one, and it just missed the mark for me, unfortunately. However, I do really love and recommend the Linner Beauty formula. I love it. I love a lot of his products. I think he does a fantastic job. It's just when it comes to eyeshadow color stories, we are completely different, but it's still a really good palette. It's just going to be based off of what you guys like, but I do recommend it. Coming in at number 84 is the Glamlite Betty Boop palette. So this palette has the really good Glamlite formula, but unfortunately the background just washes this out. And because of that, when I look at it, I don't get inspired. The way I get inspired by this palette is by swatching it out. And because of that, I just forget that I even have it. I do love Glamlite and I do love trying their new releases. They have some really cool ones coming up. And I mean, look at those shimmers. They're so freaking insane. But this one just doesn't stick out in my mind, and that's why I ranked it lower. But the formula is 10 out of 10. Like, so glossy. Coming in at number 83 is another one of those palettes that I just forget about, but it's a really, really good one. It's the Solmani 2 Moonwish palette. I love this color story so much, but I think because it doesn't have enough depth for me, that it just doesn't stick out in my mind. I mean, you do have some lighter shades, but not light enough. I like very contrasty looks, and you don't need dark shades to get contrast, but you need dark or light. And unfortunately, only this yellow here will work as an inner corner shade for me. This purple just makes my like dark circles stand out more, which is definitely not what I'm going for. But I do think this is a gorgeous color story, and I loved the looks I created, and I really love the formula. So again, another preference thing. So coming in at number 82 is the Ensley Reign Happy Go Lucky. So I don't remember if I have a video up on this or not. I think I do, but I liked this palette. It's not my favorite Ensley Reign palette, but I really do love the formula. This is the palette that I took with me to Vegas, and I created some really like good quick looks with it. Their shimmer formula is it's so good, which makes all of like what they did in this whole situation like that much worse, because they were like in my top 2 favorite brands. And it's like, oh, it feels like in the beginning it really felt like a personal attack, and I was so devastated, but it is what it is. Coming in at number 81, we have the Glam Like Ghostface Returns. I have a video of this one done too. Let me know if you're still interested in it. But I freaking love this palette. I love the color story. It was so fun. They did really light shades, which is not something they do very often, but they have full on contrast in this palette with the matte white and the matte black. And then you even have contrast in the shimmers, which those are my favorite kinds of palettes. I really love this one. And I actually really love the looks I created. I need to post that video and just like do it as a bonus video. Coming in at number 80 is the Bella Beauty Bar Ultraviolet palette. This is a collab with Deandra Nicole. She does some of the best swatches and definitely the best swatches on a deep skin tone. I highly recommend. I just love her flat lays and everything. But this palette is really beautiful. Bella Beauty Bar is in my top 3 as well. I just love them. To me, they can do no wrong. They've made some of my favorite palettes of the year. I just love them so much. And you have these 2 really cool shades. Rarity gets me every time. And then Spiritual. They did a good job on this. The only reason it's ranked lower is because purples are not my favorite. I don't hate them or anything, but I don't like feel pulled towards them in any way. They definitely are taking up a lot of spaces at the top of this list, but this one I did put at number 80. Now we are down to the 70s. So coming in at number 79 is the Unearthly Cosmetics Witch of the Wildflower. This palette is beautiful, and this is a brand I'm really excited about for 2025. They have such a beautiful formula. These shimmers are so gorgeous. I have Pan in that center shade, but I think it's because of the way this formula is and not really because of the way I used it, but that shade is so beautiful. You just have to be careful with it. But look at that. Oh my God, it just makes me want to scream. And this palette is beautiful. I love this color story. There's not a thing I would change about it. I think it's perfect, and this is a collaboration. This one was created by M. Jones, the owner, and I'll tell you about the other one when we get to it. So coming in at 78 is the Simply Posh Coastal palette. I did pick up the new one. I cannot wait to get it. I also picked up some of the blushes and lip products as well. So this palette is beautiful. I don't think I've ever seen a more beachy themed palette made as well as this one, because it's so much more, I feel like, than what you typically see with these types of palettes. The only reason it's ranked in this spot is because it's not deep enough. There's not enough contrast in this palette with the lights or the darker shades. It's very like mid, the whole thing. So that is why I ranked it lower, but it is beautiful, and if you like those types of looks, you will love this palette. They have a freaking fabulous formula, and I can't wait to try the new palette. That one does have some more contrast, so I'm excited to see it. Coming in at number 77 is another new favorite brand. It is Fantasy Cosmetica with the Bard palette. This one is really beautiful. I think I used this one off camera, but I loved it. I just think it's gorgeous. I love their formula as well. Honestly, I think it's a fun palette, but it's not a standout palette either, which is why it did rank towards the middle of this ranking. Same with number 76. It's the Mighty Monster from that same legendary Diversa series. I think that's what it's called. I could be wrong. But this one was with Annette. So this one I do like a lot more than the other two. I like the color story, the overall color story better. I loved the looks I created as well. The shimmers are freaking gorgeous. But I think she did such a good job on this color story. And her palette was my favorite out of the first one as well. I just think we have some similar likes. And she did a good job on this. It's just the same as what I said about the others. It's just not a standout either. So, coming in at number 75, this has become one of my favorite collections and as a whole and palettes from Blend Bunny. It's beautiful. This is the Robert Welsh collab. This isn't a rainbow palette by any means, but as I've said, the gradients aren't my favorite, which is what ranks it towards the middle. But I will say this color story is gorgeous, and I feel like this collab really added something new to the brand, something that they didn't already have, and I feel like that's what a collab should be. So there was definitely a place for this in my collection, and I feel like with the brand as well. And obviously they were a great team because they did a good job on this, and I really loved those undertones as well. And I like that there are light and deeper shimmers too. So coming in at number 74 is Ladybug Glow and Ice Cream Beauty. This is the Vampy Treat. I talked about the Just Desserts a little while ago. If you have not seen my look with this palette, I truly could not recommend it more, because not to toot my own horn, but that's one of the best looks I feel like I've ever created. It was so beautiful. Like that look made me fall so in love with this palette, and I do love this palette. I love the color story. It's so fun and exciting and inspiring. She has a good eye, I feel like, for bringing creativity out in people with her color stories. The only reason it ranked in the middle is because of the same reason that I had an issue with the other one. It's just that iridescent shade. And I know you guys are looking at this and thinking I'm crazy, because I'm doing that as well. But for some reason on the eye, it just doesn't look the same. And I don't know why. Coming in at number 73 is a palette that has the best artwork I think I've ever seen on a palette. And it's the Nomad Fiji 5 Legs. This palette is beautiful. And let me just say, while this may not be my favorite color story from Nomad, I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite either. I don't know what they're doing to their formula, but I love it, and I'm so happy they're doing it. I liked their formula before, but these shimmers are so good, so delicious. They have such a good matte formula as well. I just love them, and I feel like if you can find a palette within their brand that really speaks to you, you will be happy with it. They have such a easy to use formula. They're mattes, they're pigmented and easy to blend, but they're not too pigmented. They're just overall like 10 out of 10. Coming in at number 72 is another palette from Gourmand Girls. I love this palette. This is the Paradise Cove. I'm pretty sure I got this in the Ice Cream Beauty box, but this is a collab between her and Ladybug Glow, and this is the palette that really turned me on to Ladybug Glow. But this palette is beautiful. I had so much fun with it. I love this color story. I think it's so beautiful, and again, so inspiring. The only thing I would change about the palette, and I don't know how I would change it, because honestly, I don't think I would take any of these shades away. I like them all, and they all like make great sense in the palette, but I wish somehow there could have been a lighter shimmer. But I mean, I could easily pull stuff in. That I'm just being nitpicky, but this palette is so wonderful. And you do have the light shade up here that you could use as an inner corner if you're someone that doesn't even like shimmer in the inner corner. I know a lot of people do like the mattes, but this palette is perfect. I just love it so much. Coming in at number 71 is a palette for one of my favorite brands as well, and it is Unearthly Cosmetics. We have the Charmer palette. So this was in the Valentine's Day mystery box. Unfortunately, when the mystery box launched, I was broke, like broke. There was no way I was getting that money, and I couldn't pick this up, but I did pick up the pre-order like a few days later, and because of that, I didn't get the box till like a month later, because everything had to be made. It had to go like through manufacturing, and I think by the time I got the collection, some of my like excitement had died down, so I haven't used this palette a whole lot, and I don't think I have used it for a video, but honestly, I can't even remember. It's a really pretty palette, but Unearthly Cosmetics has some of the best eyeshadow palettes in my collection, and I feel like they've done way better than this. I do really like the artwork, And the formula is one of my favorites, probably in my top 3. Highly recommend anything you love from them. This one isn't available anymore. It was an exclusive kind of thing. But while it's beautiful, I think they've done better. This palette is number 70, and it kills me to put this here because I love this so much, and I feel like it did not get nearly enough hype. And it's the Calavera palette from Gourmand Girls. I think the reason this didn't get as much hype as it deserved is because Blend Bunny released like several rainbow palettes at the same time this launched, like all those collabs, and I think people were just done with it. But I'm pretty sure this is still available, and if it is, I truly recommend, because this palette is so fantastic for all year. The shimmers in here are some of the best shimmers I have ever used, and definitely from Gourmand Girls as well. They're so beautiful. But you have spring, you have summer, you have fall, winter, Christmas. You even have the 4th of July in this palette. It's literally an all-in-one palette. It will take you throughout the whole year. They have one of the easiest matte formulas I have ever worked with. And like I said, the shimmers are so spectacular. Look, you even have Easter right here. Like, it's such a great palette. It deserved so much more love than what it got, and I love it. So coming in at number 69, we have the Ensley Reign Nutty by Nature. So I like this one more than I did the other one because I like the color story. I feel like it's more balanced, and I had a lot more fun with this one. I took this with me on like Christmas, for Christmas when I went to my mom's, but that multi-chrome is so beautiful. It hurts, literally hurts to look at it. But yeah, I loved this palette. I really loved the matte selection. I feel like you could get some really gorgeous, fun looks out of it. And that multi-chrome to me adds like a fun pop, like an unexpected twist. And that's one thing that I really liked about it a lot. Coming in at number 68 is the Unearthly Cosmetics Leather and Lace. So this is one of those palettes that I told you I bought like either before or around Black Friday. It was when they had their big sale, which was on Halloween. And I love this palette. I think it's beautiful. There's not a thing I would change about it. I just love it so much. But like I said, there has been a lot of good things come out this year. So it does knock it down, but it's still a beautiful palette and I couldn't recommend it more. So this one surprised me. So it's the Bella Beauty Bar Melted Mattes. The reason it's in the 60s is because I don't do all matte palettes. But I will say these neons in this bottom row are literally the best neons I've ever worked with. You know, sometimes they look like kind of patchy. They're like kind of sheer in the wrong way. And that's been my experience with a lot of neons. I know the Search palette was like that for me, and it was everyone's favorite. I don't know if it was the primer I used it with or if it was just the neons, because a lot of people seem to love them, but I could not make them work. But this formula that's in here is so freaking good. I love it so much. So for me, I would probably, like, if I wasn't doing YouTube and I didn't need it to look the way it's supposed to, I would probably take these out and I would put the shimmers in the other palette, which I'll show you here soon. I would put those like mixed in here somewhere. I wouldn't have, yeah, I would never do an all matte palette. I would do an all shimmer palette before I would do an all matte palette, especially if I had a small collection. Okay, so these neons, I love them too. The Gourmand Girls Nueva Vida palette. This was done in collaboration with Steph's Beauty Stash. So this is like one of those palettes, either you really love it or you really hate it. I've heard people on both sides of the fence. I really love it. And the reason why I feel like some people aren't liking it is because it is very chaotic and all over the place, but that is the thing that makes me love it, because I feel inspired by this color story. It's adventurous and fun, and I love that about it. I just had a blast with this one. I had such a good time. And even looking at it right now, I can see so many different fun, like, eye looks that I could create with it. I loved the looks that I did when I made my video. I will say my quality on my videos has amped up quite a bit since this time last year, but I still think it's beautiful. I had such a great time, and kudos to her for creating something different. Coming in at, I always take the sticky note off before I remember what number it is, but this is number 65, and it is my first Simply Posh palette in the Aurora Light. This is beautiful. Oh, I love this so much. And you can get the depth out of this one, which is one of the reasons why it is my current favorite from the brand. I love this. This palette blew me away, and it made me excited for Simply Posh. And I really missed them, like, in 2024. They only released the one thing, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, this released, I think, it's the end of 2023, but I didn't review it until 2024, but it's a beautiful palette. I could not recommend it more. I did pick up Cozy Cabin as well, and I can't wait to get it. Okay, this palette is so beautiful. It is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Makina palette. This is beautiful. I love the artwork, but I had so much fun with this one. It's kind of like a rainbow palette. Let me see. Red. Yeah, it's not a rainbow palette. There's an orange, green, blue. It's almost a rainbow palette. Some might argue that it is, but it's one of my favorites from her because I really, really love the undertones in this palette. And I really love this shade down here, Cyborg. So pretty. I wish she would make this as a highlight because it's gorgeous. It's so wet looking. Put some on the nose. Why not? It's so beautiful. I love it. I had a great time with this palette. But if I wanted to do a look, I wouldn't, this isn't one I would pull out, but I did love it when I used it, if that makes sense. Coming in at number 63 is the Ireland Wild Atlantic Way from Nomad. This one I had a blast with. I love this one. I love the color story. There are some real close similarities within the greens, and I would have loved to have seen like some different types of pops of color and maybe some lighter shades. The only shade in this palette that was light enough for me to use in the inner corner was this shade, and it was still too dark. But I did love the palette, and I think it's beautiful. If you like the color story, I think you would like it. It has a really good formula, really good shimmers. All of these have good formulas. I mean, I already pointed out the bad ones. Coming in at number 62, I was shocked at how much I love this palette. This is Halloween 2 from Glamlight. Oh, so beautiful. I love this. I love this color story. It gets me so excited. That's why it sucks that it's number 62, because this is a palette that I would pick up time and time again. I think it's beautiful. This color story is fun and exciting. You could do full-on neutral. You could do brown with the pop of blue. I mean, that seems to be back in, like, especially if you did like this shimmer on the lid, because it has like that brown base, but a blue shift. It's so stunning. I love the grungy oranges in here. It's such a good one. They did a great job on that. Coming in at number 61 is, again, a brand that I've fallen so in love with this year, and it's Fantasy Cosmetica. So I had a few palettes from them, but Amanda gifted me all the palettes that I didn't have for Christmas, which makes her the sweetest human in the world. But this palette is beautiful, and it kind of looks almost like my eye look that I'm wearing today. But I love this. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's beautiful. I do have some of the singles that were in this collection as well, and I have all of the singles that were in this collection, and they're gorgeous. There's like 4 hollows, I'm pretty sure, but this is a really good palette. You could like mix the sides or stick to the like each 2 rows, you know what I mean? It's just beautiful. I couldn't recommend it more, and I love Fantasy Cosmetica. I now own all of their palettes, and I'm very happy to say that. This one, oh, it made me so happy. It's the Nomad Chicago Speakeasy. I mean, it's giving speakeasy vibes. I feel like they really nailed this one. I love the color story. It's so fun. I love the purple and the green row, especially together, like a purple eye with this like pea green in the inner corner and deepen it up with this on the outer corner. Oh, I love the looks that I created with this. This is a fun palette. And again, I don't know what they're doing with the shimmer formula, but they need to keep it up because it's gorgeous. This one is my favorite in the palette, but I love them all, especially the middle one. It's so beautiful. Look how pretty. Oh, I just love doing swatches. It gets me like re-excited for what's in my collection, and there really is no better feeling than that. Now we are finally at the 50 mark and halfway through, or almost halfway through. There's a couple, you know. So coming in at number 59 is What the Fox from Ensley Reign. I really loved this one a lot. So I used this one in December, but I think I'm going to take it out of the ranking along with another palette from them that I used in December, just because I want this to be the last video where I talk about them. It's created enough anxiety in my life, so it's just easier for me that way. And I hope everyone who wants me to keep them in the rankings will understand that. But I did love this palette a lot. I love the color story. It was my favorite out of the three. The shimmers in here are really, really beautiful as well. Really beautiful. And I liked the idea that they were going with these palettes. I don't see them like doing that now, because I would guess their sales have probably dropped quite a bit, and they were only gonna do these like monthly launches if like they were selling well, and I'm guessing they're probably not, so they probably won't continue with it. But I did really like that one. This one was a really good one, and I loved it so much. So it is the Lunar Beauty Moonshroom. This is, to date, my favorite palette from Lunar Beauty. This is me. I mean, look at my background. I love mushrooms, and I love this grungy, swampy color story. It makes me so happy. This is like the perfect fall palette, but for me, it is an all year long palette. I love the added periwinkle shade in here. I feel like it adds like an extra fun pop to this color story. It's just such a freaking great palette. Could not recommend it more. I love the formula as well, and the artwork was really fun. I think he did a great job with this one. Coming in at number 57, it's one of my Black Friday palettes. It is the Gourmand Girls Haunted. I think I bought this during Black Friday, but I love this so much. This color story is so beautiful. I don't have a video on this one because it was an older launch that I picked up, but I have used it off camera and I loved it so much. I love this color story. It's one of my favorites from the brand. I think it's so beautiful, but there are other favorites. I just can't wait to show them to you, but this is such a fun palette. I can see why everyone went nuts over it. I did recently get the Spooked palette, and I think I'm going to use that in one of those 4-look videos because I can't wait to use it. I did pick that one up in December while I was in Vegas, and I'm really excited to use it. So coming in at number 56 is the Adept Cosmetics Unity palette. So this palette is so beautiful. It's like a rose garden. It's so gorgeous. I love the mauve tones with this like sage green. The shimmers in here are really beautiful, and it's one of their more affordable palettes because it has like all like really high impact metallic shades, and there's not like multi-chromes and stuff in this one, so it does lower that price a lot, but these shimmers are beautiful. I do have some others that ranked a little higher, but I really, really loved this one, and we might as well talk about the blush palette since we're here. This released alongside of it. It's the Duality. First, I love the artwork on both of these, the packaging, but I am so in love with this blush palette. So these are like blush toppers, but I think these blushes are amazing, beautiful, gorgeous. This is a very unique blush to me, and it's one I've gotten a lot of use out of and I really love. Words cannot tell you how much I love this palette. So it's the Molten Chromes from Bella Beauty Bar, and it's coming in at number 55. I only have this in the center because I don't like all shimmer or all matte palettes. But this released alongside the all matte palette I showed you. But I love this palette. I love the shades that are in here. You have some special shades, some metallic shades. They're just all gorgeous. And I'm so happy that I picked this up. This shade Dissolve is one of my favorite shades for inner corner. Like, do you see that? Heat is beautiful as well. Like, they're all beautiful, but some just really speak to me even more than others. And that Dissolve shade just gets me every freaking time. I love using that, or like adding it to looks and stuff. It's just so fun. Coming in at number 54, one of the first palettes I used this year, and it is from Unearthly Cosmetics. We have the Gloomy Gardens. I loved this palette so much. It was my introduction to the brand. Pretty sure it was their first release, and I have since bought all of their releases, and I love them very, very much. This is really, really beautiful. So this one is technically an eyeshadow palette, but I use it for highlight and stuff and keep it in front of me for inner corner. But we can just categorize these two together. But this is the Dewdrops, and it's so freaking beautiful. I just can't. I love it. It's so good. Do you see that? It makes me want to scream. But this is another brand, like I mentioned earlier when I talked about the Witch and the Wildflower. This is a brand that I definitely have my eye on, and I cannot wait to see what else they come out with this year. Coming in at number 53, this was my second Adept palette ever, and these shimmers that are in this palette are some of the best shimmers I've ever seen in my life. The only reason I didn't rank this one higher is because for me it does not have enough depth, but I really love the matte shades that are in here. I love the colors and the undertones, and really the shimmers are like the star of the show. Oh, I can't even stand it. They're so good. Oh, they're so good. And the crazy thing is, as beautiful as this is, it's not even my favorite Adept palette of the year. I've tried several good palettes, and I actually got a code from them today, and it makes me so excited. I can't believe it. And they're sending me their new palette in PR. It's such a dream come true. I made a whole post about it, but I love this. I think it's so beautiful. Coming in at number 52 is the Gourmand Girls Nightshade. Oh, this palette is beautiful. I like it even more than I did the last one. The color story is so gorgeous. I just love this. It's like the perfect Halloween palette. It's so beautiful. It's so fun and adventurous and gorgeous. It's another one of those palettes that really just spark my creativity and make me feel so happy. I had so much fun with it, and it's one that I think of when I'm doing my makeup because I really want to pull it out. Like, do you see that? It's so sickening. Coming in at number 51 is Cosmic Dreamer from Ensley Reign. So, like I said, I really love the Ensley Reign formula, and this palette is really beautiful, but out of the palettes I have, it is my least favorite. But it was only because of color story. I still had a lot of fun with it and created a lot of beautiful looks with it, but I bought so many good Ensley Reign palettes this year that stand out past this one, so that's why I ranked it a little lower at number 51, and this one is number 50, and it really pained me to put it here because I actually was so in love with this palette, and it is the Lands of Enchantment. This color story is so gorgeous, and the shimmers in here blow my freaking mind, and I love the pastels. The color story is like it gives ice cream truck vibes to me. I don't know. It's so beautiful. I really loved this one so freaking much. Coming in at number 49, we have the Unearthly Cosmetics Night Terror palette. This was a part of their mini mystery box they did for Halloween, and this is beautiful. I really like the color story, and I really love the shimmers that are in here. And like I said, like I've never gotten a palette with a bad formula from them. I just love them so much. The mattes are so pretty. But they've released so many good things this year. And this just didn't hit the top of the list for me. But I can see myself pulling this out more and getting more like use out of it because it's so gorgeous. And I absolutely love the color story. Blues and purples are some of my favorite. I mean, look at me today. Coming in at number 48, we have the Unearthly Cosmetics Warlock of the Wood. This is a collaboration with Basket Case Beauty. And for a minute, the Witch of the Wildflower one was my favorite. But I don't know, somehow this one just grew on me. And I think I like it even more. I love the grays with the greens. And you have like this, it's all backwards where I'm looking at my monitor. You have this cool tone blue and the cool tone browns. It's just such a fun palette. I almost said funny. But the shimmer formula of this brand is so good. Like, how are you just going to come in here with this at the start? That's insane. Oh, I love it. They're like so sparkly and just gorgeous. I'm covered in shimmer. This is another one of those like beachy type of palettes, or at least the color story gives me those vibes. But this is number 47, and it is the Spring Magic. I really love this palette, which should tell you a lot about what's above it. But I like this one. It's giving beachy vibes to me. But I like this one more than I do the Coastal palette. I like Unearthly's formula more than I do Simply Posh. But I really do enjoy Simply Posh as well. But this color story, it gives me the depth and just the overall like gradient. You even have the matte white in here, so you can get depth that way. It's just a really fun palette. The shimmers are so good, so spectacular. Could not recommend it more. It's such a beautiful one. I hate that it's even in the 40s. So coming in at number 46, this was one of my favorite palettes that I tried this year, and it was the Ensley Reign Cold Moon. I love this so much. I had so much fun with it. This black shade doesn't go in this palette. I did a build my own palette when I went to Vegas, and I used that black shade, and I got it mixed up with one of the other shades, and now I don't remember which palette it goes in, but it's still, like, even without the black shade, it was a really good palette. However, I do think it looks better with the black shade. But this palette was so beautiful, and I had so much fun with it. The shimmers, like, drove me insane with excitement. I just love them so much. Now it just makes me sad to look at these palettes. Coming in at number 45 is the Strange and Unusual. So this is the remastered version with the magnetic palettes. This palette is beautiful, like so beautiful, but I can't wait to show you some of the other palettes I've tried in this format from them this year. I do really like this one as well. It was really fun. This shade right here is so insane, but the whole palette is beautiful. I'm sorry I'm not able to bring up swatches. Where I used to film on my phone, I didn't get to save all of that stuff, and there's no way I could swatch 120 palettes. I got grown-up things to do, but after this year, now that I have my camera, I will be able to start showing swatches because I have been saving everything like this year since I got my new stuff. So hopefully next year's ranking will be better. But coming in at number 44, I love this palette so much. It's the Druid from Fantasy Cosmetica. I love this artwork a lot. I think it's so fun and beautiful. But this color story is so gorgeous, and there is not a single thing about it that I would change. Maybe add in a black, but I mean, that's just me and my vibes. But it's beautiful. I just love this so much, and I can see why everyone raved about it for so long. Coming in at number 43 is the Blooming Basket from DD Signature. I loved this palette. I had so much fun with it. This was my first DD Signature palette, and I think this color story is brilliant. I had such a blast. This murky yellow with this purple is so good together. And the murky yellow works as an inner corner pop with all of these shades. These three and these two right here in the crease is such a good eye look. Trust me, because I did that look. I have a busted shade, so I have to be careful. It makes me wonder if I've like dropped this or something at some point, but I just love this. I had such a blast. They do have a better matte formula now, but honestly, I didn't really dislike this one, but I think it might be easier to blend now. But it's been a while since I've used it, so I would have to reuse it to be able to say for sure, but I'm thinking that's what the complaint might have been. So coming in at number 42 is the Cosmic Brushes Cool Trolls. I love this palette. I went nuts over this, and I love my video where I created the looks with it. It's so beautiful. I just had so much fun with this. It's like a dream palette for me. I just love cool tones, and I've had so much fun this year getting to play with them. And I think Cosmic Brushes is freaking so good at creating fun color stories, and they did it several times this year. The Christmas palette was really good. This one, the neutrals, the undergrowth was fun. I just had a blast with them. This was the first palette that I reviewed this year, and it is the Unearthly Cosmetics Dreamer palette, and it's beautiful. I had so much fun with this. A lot of people really loved this color story, and a lot of similar color stories to this came out this year actually, but this is one of the best, and I had a blast. You have a hollow in here and some really pretty, there's a really pretty multi-chrome, some duos. It's a gorgeous color story. I know she restocked it, and the Dreamer highlighter palette, mine's in the drawer. I don't know why, because it should be over here, but it launched with this, and it was an exclusive item to the box, but she has brought it back, and I'm glad because it's so good. It's like a trio. It's so good, and I want everyone to get to experience it. Ooh, this is one of my favorites. See, I forgot about this one because there were so many others, but it is the Wonderland from Cosmic Brushes. This palette was a blast. I am a sucker for blues and purples, and you throw in these shades. The shade Crisp is so delicious with the purple crease and then Crisp as the inner corner pop. It was so good. I just love this one so much. I have zero complaints. We have great contrast, a lot of like medium shades, light shades, deep shades. It's a perfect palette, and I'm a sucker for blue, so it was made for me, literally. So now we are down to the 30s, and honestly, there's not a bad palette in this bunch. I love them so very much. So coming in at number 39 is the Glamlight Garfield palette. You guys know how much I loved this palette. I had so much fun with it. It's one of my favorites in my collection from Glamlight. Such a gorgeous color story, so creative, so fun. The shimmer formula in this is really, really good. I like that it's a smaller, like 12 pan palette. I just had so much fun with it, and like I said, it is my favorite Glamlight palette. I just think they did such a freaking great job on this. Coming in at number 38 is the Odin's Eye Silverly Bliss. Listen, I've said this a bunch of times today because I actually filmed a 4 looks, 4 palettes video, and this one is in it. And every time I say it, I stutter, but let me just say, this palette shocked me. It shocked me. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, but man, did I really love it. Such a beautiful color story. It just blew me away, and I cannot wait for you guys to see the look that I did with it, but it's one of my favorite color stories from them. And I mean, not even really a big fan of red, but it's just the way that the colors they chose to go with it. Such a good palette, like totally such a good palette. And then coming in at number 37, we have the Undergrowth palette. This palette is really beautiful. This is from Cosmic Beauty, and I love this. I know it's a lot of your guys' favorites as well. The only reason I put it in the 30s, which don't get me wrong, these are all fantastic palettes, but I felt the looks that I created were kind of similar, but it could have been me because I can look at it now and see like such drastic differences, but I feel like it's the shimmers that are what make it look that way. They're different, but they're too similar, and I feel like if she would have branched out in other directions with the shimmers, this palette could have really been special and been in the top 10. Coming in at number 36 is the Bella Beauty Bar Realm of Fairies. This is with Sassy Fairy. And if I were to create a palette at this moment in my life, it would be very similar to this. It's so beautiful. Or at least this is one of the color stories I would want to create. I love blue, and I love blues with gray, blues with the cool tone purples. I had so much fun with this, and I loved my looks with it so much. I was like downstairs the other day, and Amanda like usually plays my videos on the TV downstairs. Like, look at this. It's so pretty. But there was a video playing. I think it was my Vegas vlog. And I had a look on. I was like, that's that palette. I knew, like, it's so freaking gorgeous. There's a reason why they have like one of my favorite formulas of all time. I mean, they probably are my favorite now, but I just love them so much. It's so beautiful. This palette surprised me, and I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, but I didn't, let me rephrase. So it surprised me because I loved it from the first moment I saw it online. But the thing that surprised me was I never thought to put these two colors together. And it's the Wizard palette. This is what made me fall in love with Fantasy Cosmetica. This is one of my favorite palettes in my whole collection. I just love the yellow and blue together. That was such a freaking genius choice. And then you have this. It's like a very deep, like inky shade. And the shade is so pretty. It's a hollow. It's very special. And I've fallen so in love with this brand because of this palette. And I fell more in love with each release. And I just can't wait to see what they do this year. But this was such a good one. Coming in at number 34, another one, Wicked Widow. This was the first palette I tried from them, and I love this palette so much. It's The Crow. I mean, obviously, I love that movie, but these blacks and grays, I've said it so many times, are some of the easiest that I've ever worked with in my life. You could use just the black and blend out and have like the dimension that I have in this eye look. They have such an incredible, effortless matte formula. Probably one of the easiest matte formulas that I have ever worked with. And I'm so glad that I finally started using them this year. I can't wait to see what else they come out with. I love this color story too. It's such a vampire theme, and I'm so into it. And speaking of vampires, we have number 33, the Bella Beauty Bar Vamp. I loved this palette too. It's something about these deep shimmers that are getting me with them lately. They've been really doing such a good job with those. But look at Undead. Undead is so pretty. Hello, Brother. We love a throwback to Vampire Diaries. Shadows is such a favorite as well. I just think it's so pretty. I probably got shadow all over my face, but it was itchy. I couldn't help it. But I just love their shimmers so much. And I feel so inspired by their color stories. And I mean, look at this. It's for good reason. This was my first ever PR package. And it came from one of my absolute favorite brands. And it was the Unearthly Cosmetics High Temp. And if you love a fiery look or a sunset eye, this palette is for you. I love this so much. This is one of the best red shimmers I've ever tried. One of the best red mattes. These two, like this banana shade with this shade right here, is so beautiful in the crease. You can create such gorgeous spring and summer looks. Even fall, really. Like, this is such a beautiful palette. And I'm so happy to have it. And getting this in PR was like one of the happiest moments of my life. And I'm not even kidding. I will never forget it. I have like 30 Unearthly palettes. They are one of my favorite brands, and I wish I would have found them sooner so I could have tried their earlier stuff too, but I'm happy that I found them when I found them because they are fantastic. Coming in at number 32 is the Vivette palette from Adept. This palette deserved way more love than what it got. And I'm only saying that it didn't get it because my views on this palette were really, really low. And it's sad because I loved the looks so freaking much. And I had so much fun with this palette. The True Green with this shade, I'm pretty sure I did that as a combo. And it was so beautiful. This shade right here, Vivette, is so beautiful. And then we have Magic. Like, every single shade in this is so good. We might as well do this shade because, I mean, there's an extra finger there. And I thought this shade right here was a little like gritty, so I assumed there was glitter in it. But when I went to do the intro for the video, I saw on the site that they actually never put glitter in their shimmers, like at all. So that's not glitter, and that just blew my freaking mind. But I love this brand. I love this palette, and it's one of my favorite palettes of the year. I just love this color story. Such a good time. The blue and green together too. It's really good. This one's even better though. Oh, I bought this during Black Friday, and boy, am I glad I did. We have the Cyborg Choir. This is one of my favorite palettes from Adept. It's so beautiful. Truly, videos could never do this palette justice. You can't even imagine. Like, you can see a lot of that sparkliness with my lights and with the camera. Like, you can see it there. This is so freaking spectacular. I get so excited when I talk about palettes like these because I feel so inspired and excited. And these mattes are some of my favorites that they've ever done. Goes from really light to really dark, and you could do all kinds of stuff with these shimmers. I want to touch every single one of them, but I'm literally covered in glitter. So is my shirt. It looks like it was made this way. So I'm trying to slow down. I have to though. Do you see me? I'm an addict when it comes to this. Oh, I love that. It's so pretty. I can't. Oh, it makes me so happy. I'm so in love with shimmer shadow. Eyeshadow, period. But those are beautiful. You can see like those rainbow glitters in that top one. They're so good. I can't wait to see what else they come out with this year as well. They have one of the best shimmer formulas I've ever used. Coming in at number 30 is one of my favorite palettes that released this fall, but it's the Just a Taste. The highlighter that was in this collection is also 10 out of 10. I loved it so much. But this color story, it's like I think it was like their holiday release. It's like a gothic holiday though. I just think this palette is so beautiful, and it ranked really high in my ranking. I loved it so much. But there was another palette that released around this time, which you'll see further up, that was even better, and as much as I love this one, I recommend that one even more, but I recommend this one too. I might have got mixed up on the numbers. I cannot even remember at this point what number I was on, but I think it's 27, might be 28, but coming in at number 27 is the Wicked Widow Tales of Terror. This was good. It's one of my last reviews I did in 2024, and I loved it so much. This just got me so excited. I love this palette so much. I love the matte formula. I love the color stories. I love the shimmers. The only thing in this collection that I really don't recommend is the lipsticks. Unfortunately, they had a really bad taste, and they're like kind of sheer. Some of them were okay. I can't even remember which ones anymore, but some of them were like kind of patchy and the pigment like was patchy. So I don't recommend those, but this palette is amazing. 10 out of 10. I highly recommend. I just love this color story. This might be one of my favorite like fall palettes of all time now. It's beautiful. Coming in at number 26 is the Neutrals palette from Cosmic Brushes. I love this one a whole lot as well. I think it's so beautiful. This one blew my freaking mind. The looks that I created with this palette are some of my favorite looks I have ever created. I do have a video up and I have reels up as well on Instagram, but I love this. I truly could never get enough of it. It's so stunning. Coming in at number 25, so I lost my complete mind over this palette when it launched. And it is the Flourish palette from Ensley Reign. I loved this color story so much. I've heard some people say they didn't like it that much, but honestly, I had such a good time with it. I was so hyped over this palette for such a long time. I even bought my mom some of these palettes because she loved them and I loved them so much, and I wanted her to like feel my excitement for them as well. These three shades together are so beautiful. I had such a great time with it. Okay, I think we're at number 25. I don't know. I'll have to figure this out, and I'll like be putting the correct number up on the screen. But coming in at number 25, we have the Blend Bunny Longing palette. This palette just, oh, it's like a freaking sad song on a violin to me. I don't know why, but I'm so in love with this color story. It reminds me of longing and mourning, but in the most beautiful way. I had so much fun with this palette. This is some of my favorite shimmers that they have ever done. If not my favorite, I couldn't recommend this more. It's such a fun one. And I don't even do gradients that, like I do them, but they're not my favorite. But this was a favorite. She did such a great job and I couldn't recommend it more. The shade When It Rains, Love Letters, Remorse, all of this one, All That's Left, Remember. It's so beautiful. I was so excited to get this one. It's the Oceano palette from Cliona. So I picked this up. I think it released over the summer with two other palettes, but this is the one that I decided to pick up, and I'm glad I did because this is such a me palette. I love this. It's so chaotic and fun and inspiring. This shade right here, oh, it's so pretty. I had so much fun with this. It's such a great palette. And the only issue I did have with it, the mattes work really well. It's like a nice formula, but they are really kick-uppy. Like really like there's a lot of kick up. And I typically don't like that. I mean, I typically don't care about that, but it is an excessive amount. So if you do have this palette or you decide to pick it up, I do recommend doing your eyes first because then it won't really be an issue, but it does kick up a lot. This one I love so much, and it's coming in at number 23. It is the Nomad New Zealand Stargazing palette. This is my favorite Nomad palette, and for good reason. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful though. The multi-chromes in here and the shimmers are so good. This shade just does something to me. So it has like a green, pink, gray shift. It's so stunning. I've never seen anything like it. And it really ties that gray into most of the shades in this palette. And it just makes it so beautiful. That's my favorite thing about multi-chromes and like duochromes. They are so fun when you do two-tone looks. If you don't do two-tone looks, then I mean they're still fun because you can get that pop of color, and you have to like that about it. If not, it does feel intimidating, but if you like that pop, or you like two-tone looks, or something like more adventurous and fun, then you're going to love duos and multi-chromes. I personally love them, even more when they have a hollow shift, but I'll take them all. I love every one of them. They inspire me so much by seeing their flips and stuff. I love finding ways to pull mattes together that don't typically go together, and the best way to do that is with duos and multi-chromes. And I mean, that's my opinion, but I love it. I just love it. Okay, so we're almost at the top 20. We're actually at 23. And these 3 palettes were some of my favorite palettes that I've tried this year. So that should tell you like how good the top 20 is, because one of these I went nuts. Well, 2 of them actually I went nuts over. So coming in at number 23 is the Ensley Reign Harvest Moon. I love this palette. Some of you guys recommended it to me, I think over the summer when I picked it up, but my God, the shimmers in this are so beautiful. But if I could critique anything, it would be that we had some lighter mattes in here and maybe even take out some of the shimmers. And I feel like these 2 are a little similar. These 2 are different, but they're a little similar. And maybe even, no, those 2 are way different. But you see what I mean? I feel like we could have lost a few of the shimmers and added in some lighter mattes. But with that being said, I went nuts over this. That bright orange right there and this shade right here, oh, I lost my mind. And you guys know I love like really grungy color stories, which is why I love that one. This one, I swore for like the first 6 months was going to be my #1 palette. And it's the Dead Roses from Bella Beauty Bar. This palette made me go nuts over this brand, and I bought every release that they have released this year or in 2024. But I love this. It looks like it's like gonna be your typical average Valentine's Day palette, and then you see the shifts. Like how can you not love that? Please let me know, because I think it's beautiful. This pink like shifts to orange, and then this shade Drop Dead. I haven't used this palette since summertime, and I really need to. It's been a long time. Maybe we should do some throwback Valentine's Day looks with some of the old like February releases, and do like a 4 looks video or even a 3 looks video and create some really cool looks for that. I think it could be really fun, but I would love to pull this one back out. I had so much fun with it. Such a great palette. Coming in at number 20 was the Ensley Reign Groovy Garden. This is what I wanted Harvest Moon's ratio to be like. I loved this palette so much. This shade right here, Lava Lamp Trippy, was so good. I even like Jazz because it's like that almost peachy neutral shade, but it does have like this gorgeous green flip. But they were so beautiful. I just love them so much. Okay, so now we are down to the top 19. These palettes are the best of the best releases that I think we've had this year, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts. So, coming in at number 19 was one that you guys talked me into buying right before the hit the fan, and it's the Twisted Tea Party. I was literally one of the last people to get this palette before it sold out. But this palette is beautiful, and I love it so very much. There's another palette in this stack that has a similar vibe to it. Maybe not a similar exact color story, but it does have a similar vibe. We'll do a little comparison when we get there, but I really loved this palette. I do know that it has been discontinued since, if you are someone that is still following the brand. So coming in at number 18, this one dropped when I was in Vegas, and it's the Frozen Kiss. I love this palette so much. It's one of my top favorites from Gourmand Girls because it has everything that I love. I love that she added these 2 colors here because you can take this palette in so many different directions, especially with those 2 colors and then these 2 pastels. These shimmers are some of her best as well. I love these like marbled shades, and this hollow is gorgeous. Let's do some swatching. I do think she is restocking it if she hasn't already. I'll have everything down below in the description box though. But look at those. 10 out of 10. They are so beautiful. But I loved this so much. I think she did such a fantastic job on this color story. It really blew me away. And it's one of the palettes I took with me to Vegas. I had so much fun with it, and it's one that I do often think of when I want to create a look. Coming in at number 17, oh, this palette. So this launched in 2023, but I didn't pick it up until this summer. And it's the Don't Be Jelly from Unearthly Cosmetics. It is one of my favorites from them. This color story just blows me away. I've raved about this in several different types of videos throughout the year since I did pick it up, and it's so beautiful. I just love it. Their formula is very unique in a way. Like their shimmers, they're really high shine and impactful, but they feel like silk. They're not like too emollient or anything like that. So I feel like people with different eye types and eye shapes and skin types could all get use out of these and not have issues with creasing or anything like that. They're just beautiful. This one is one that once it sells out, I don't think she's restocking it. It's the Daily Grind. I love this palette. I love everything about it. I love the packaging, the font, but this color story, oh, it's like so wonderful to me. It makes me so excited and so happy. And this one does have the updated formula. So does the ones on the site, but the greens with these like murky oranges, it's just so fun, you guys. This is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I love it so much. I take this with me very often when I travel. And oh, it's such a good palette. I could not recommend it more, especially if you want it before it sells out. Coming in at number 15, this one blew my mind this year. The 'Tis the Season from Cosmic Brushes. Oh, I love this color story. I really loved the looks that I created with it as well. I had so much fun with this, but if you are into the Christmas palettes, I have another favorite that I like even more than this one, and it's coming up very soon, but I do love this color story. I love the matte and shimmer formula. It's like the longer the year went on, the better their releases got. It was such a good year. Coming in at number 14 is a new to me brand in 2024. Now I have 4 palettes from them, but it is the Metamorph from Artitude Cosmetics. I think this restocked, or it is restocking. Oh, I love this. I went so crazy over this palette and the highlighter in the shade Metamorph that came with it. So beautiful. I love it so much. But I just love this palette. It takes my breath away. It's such a fun, beautiful color story. And again, they have such a good matte and shimmer formula. I could not recommend anything on their site more. It's getting late, guys. Your girl's tired. And this one makes me so freaking happy because it is the first palette from Singe Beauty. I love this. I love the looks that I created with it. It was so much fun. And I don't know how one starts out with a formula this freaking nice. I love this. Someone commented on my video and said they heard another creator say that the shimmers were dull, and I don't get that at all. I mean, I've got some dull shimmers in this ranking situation. These, my friend, are not dull. They are beautiful. Now, there are 2 types of shimmers in this palette, and I love them all. They're beautiful. Maybe even 3, because this one feels a little different. They're not dull, though. They're so stunning, so wet and glossy looking. Just exciting. And I love the mint that was added into this palette. I did a look with the neutrals and then the mint as an inner corner pop, and it's one of my favorite looks that I've ever done. I loved it so much. Could not recommend more. This was another one of those palettes I swore was going to be my top palette of the year, and it's also from Bella Beauty Bar. I love this so much. They're so amazing. This is the Secret Garden. I've created some of my favorite looks with this palette. Again, we have the pea shade, and it's so freaking cute. A neutral eye. I did that when we went to Cedar Point. I used the neutrals in the crease and did that shade in the inner corner with I think it was this shimmer on the lid. It was so freaking pretty. I was shocked at how much I loved it, but that I did. I loved it so much. I just love this palette. The shimmers in here are so good. I have huge pan in this shade. I've gotten tons of use out of that one. I almost have pan in this shade, but just look at the flips. They make me so happy. This is such a good palette. I don't care how big it is. I love it. The bigger, the better. Coming in at number 11, this was one of my favorite palettes of the year. And I think this is my favorite palette from Adept Cosmetics. And it's the Amy Loves collab. I love this. Hence the name. I love the blush palette and the highlight palette as well. It's so freaking good. Has one of my favorite highlighter formulas of all time in there. It's so beautiful. I would love to see them do more blush palettes with different like undertones, like an orange, please. Yes. But this is so beautiful. I love this color story. I love that it goes from dark to light. I just think they did such a good job. These shades are so gorgeous and like so impactful. I mean, does one expect anything less from Adept Cosmetics? These are beautiful and I love them so much. She did such a good job. They're a great team together. I would love to see them do something else. But do you see that? This was one of the palettes I used on my eyes when I did my makeup for the Creators and Friends event. And I loved it. I got so many compliments too, which, you know, always makes us feel good. But she didn't let me down. I knew it was going to do me right. I was like, I want to wear my best makeup to this event. The makeup that makes me feel like $1,000,000. And it did. Now we are down to my top 10. All of these palettes are #1 palettes. They all like just brought me so much joy. And when I was filming with them, I truly just got so excited and just overwhelmed in the best freaking way. And like I could see so many looks. They inspire me so much. And I've just loved them so much. I love the videos I created with them. They're just all around were fantastic palettes. Well, there's one in here I didn't create a video with, and you'll see why when we get to it. But coming in at number 10 is the Gargoyle from Unearthly Cosmetics. I love this. This color story just takes my freaking breath away. This shade has like a peach flip. And it's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I loved it so much. These two together is so beautiful. I can create so many looks with this palette. It's such an easy, fun, inspiring, exciting palette. It's like the best part of the ranking. The ones that just like literally make you want to talk so fast you can't even catch your breath. That's this. I had so much fun. I love it so much. I love Unearthly Cosmetics. Coming in at number 9 is a palette that makes me feel really sad. It's the opposite feeling, but at the time I loved it so much, and it's the Ensley Reign Underland palette. I love the artwork on here. I know, guys, I'm sorry. I did, though. It's really pretty. Whether it's right or wrong, it was still pretty. It's grungy and like dark. I liked that, but the color story is so beautiful too. When I got this, it had like those little white like protectors on it, and I thought this was one too, and I dug my finger in it. First I thought I got an empty palette. I was like, oh no, and almost had a heart attack, but then I saw what it was. It was the first palette I ever got like that. It was so funny. But I loved this palette. I loved the looks that I created with it. It was really fun. And it's the dark shimmers. I really love those. And I feel like people either do or they don't, but this was a really good one. And it had one of those marbled shades in it too, which was really fun. Coming in at number 8, I love this palette so much. This is the one I bought for my mom. It's the Ensley Reign Flutter. I really, really loved this color story a lot. I went nuts over this palette when I created my looks with it. This shade right here, Golden Hour, takes my breath. It makes like, say you did like Flicker and Magic Moss in the outer corner, deepened up with Echo. You could do Golden Hour on the lid and then a pop of the Orchid Orange in the inner corner, and it's such a pretty look. I had so much fun with that one. Coming in at number 7 is one of my favorite palettes of all time, and it's from Bella Beauty Bar. They're recently de-influenced. I know you guys aren't surprised to see this here, but maybe you're surprised it wasn't higher, but the other palettes were so good that it was hard to put it higher. But you guys know I went on and on and on about this palette, went nuts raving over it. I mean, the shimmers are so freaking cool. I just love them. Their formula is amazing. They make me so very happy. I could not recommend them more. And they're just one of my favorites. I love their mattes and their shimmers, but their color stories always inspire me so much. They're one of the brands I always grab when I need to feel inspired or when I'm having a bad day. You know, sometimes it helps to like do your makeup. I reach for these. They're amazing. I love Bella Beauty Bar. So, coming in at number 6 is the other Christmas palette that I was talking about earlier. And this one is from DD Signature, the Fearless Holiday. This is like the best palette I've ever seen because it has like Halloween, fall, Christmas, and winter. It's so freaking amazing. It's one of those like almost all year round palettes. Technically it is all year. You could get some spring and summer looks out of this as well. You could do sunset looks. It's such a beautiful palette. I loved the formula. I love the color story. And I love the updated packaging a whole lot. I think she's making like big moves to a really good direction. And I'm truly so satisfied with her last few launches, and I'm super excited to have them. Now we are down to my top 5, and I'm excited to see like if you guys know what's going to be in my top 5, like if you guessed right. But with that being said, coming in at number 5, this is one of the most innovative color stories I have ever seen in my life, and I have raved about this all year. And it is the Peach Perfect. I almost called it the Perfect Peach, and it's right in front of my face. But it is the Peach Perfect, and it's from Gourmand Girls. This palette is so amazing. I created probably my favorite look of all time. I do have a reel up on Instagram of the look, or if you watch my video, it is look 3. In that video, I really spent the whole time saying, oh God, guys, I don't think this is going to turn out. And then when I saw the finished look, I literally felt the best that I've ever felt in my life. I loved it so much. This is such a freaking great color story. You guys know I got to talk about Fuzzball too. It's like a metallic green, but it has like these micro peach shimmers in it. It's so beautiful. One of my favorite shimmers in my whole entire collection. It never picks up on camera, but it's beautiful in person. I love this palette. Oh, this palette is beautiful. She did such a good job. I love like this green with the peach shade right here, but I also love these two together. These 3 together are beautiful. Like there's so many different looks that you could create with a palette like this. I still get excited when I talk about this. Coming in at number 4 is such a good one. It's the Harvest of Souls from Fantasy Cosmetica. This is the one I was talking about with the Twisted Tea Party. They're not the same, but they do give very similar vibes. And I love this one even more. This is such a great color story. This is my favorite Fantasy Cosmetica palette of all time. Hands down. I had so much fun with this. These 3 shades right here together, even doing like this in the inner corner, this shade throughout the rest of the crease, deepen up with this shade, and then this on the lid is so beautiful because it has like this color as like the base, but then that blue shift, and it just ties that in so beautifully. It was so fun, and I really love these greens together with the purple, or you could do a purple crease and then do that on the inner corner. That is really pretty as well. I just had so much fun with this. Such a good palette. This was my favorite palette from Unearthly Cosmetics this year, and it is coming in at number 3, and it's the Remastered Strange and Unusual. This is what my grungy, loving, murky dreams are made of. It's so beautiful. Oh, I was so blown away by this. I had so much fun creating looks with this palette. It's so good. I didn't have the original version of the Not Normal, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because that kind of made this like brand new to me, and I got to experience it for the first time with the remastered version. And sometimes that like helps you see it through fresh eyes, and I feel like I got that with this palette. And it's so beautiful. It truly just took my breath away. Still does. I cannot wait for the moment I get to touch this again. And let me just say, the Unearthly Cosmetics Cool Tone Lip Liners and their Menacing Metals lipsticks that just came out, along with the 5-piece Sorcery Set satin lipsticks, all go so freaking well with this palette. It's a match made in heaven. Trust me, I've done it, and I loved it. Every single second of it. So this palette I did review, but I ended up deleting my video and I didn't post it because it was right after like all the stuff happened with Ensley Reign. But I have to be honest with you, I loved the palette. It's so good. It's the Light in Your Eyes palette. And it sucks so bad, like, because now, even though I really loved my Ensley Reign palettes, now when I look at them, I feel sad, disappointed, anxious, and betrayed. And it sucks. Like, it really makes me want to cry every time I look at them. But I love them. I still love them. But it's tainted now. But I will say, if all that stuff doesn't bother you and you're into the color story, it's a freaking beautiful palette. And at the time when I like did my video with it, I thought, wow, this is my new favorite from them. But I mean, it is what it is. And that's why I put it at number 2, because I didn't base it on how I feel now. I made myself base it on how I felt then. But with all that being said, we're moving on to my number 1 palette, and I wouldn't be surprised if most of you guessed it, because it's the Poison Garden from Bella Beauty Bar. This palette is so good. And do you see what I mean? Like, all of these are new releases that came out like recently. The only one that's not is Perfect Peach and recently De-Influenced. Those would have been my top 2 had these ones not been released, but Poison Garden is what my dreams are made of too. I love this so much. I love how like deep and dark it is. I love the grungy side with the slate side, and then you have like this gorgeous pop of blue over here. These dark shimmers. I lost my mind over this palette, you guys. You know, I'm pretty sure most of you seen my video. I literally went nuts over this palette. I have in several different types of ranking videos since. I talk about it a lot. And for a great reason. It's just so beautiful. I could not recommend it more. My favorite shades in this palette are Angel's Trumpet, Belladonna, and Wisteria. Ooh, I really like Poison Hemlock too, but we'll do a little swatch, especially since it's the last one. Oh man, there's more though. I really love Wolf's Bane as well, and Opium Poppy. Look at those. Do you see it? Oh, they're so pretty. They get me every time. One finger swatches too. They're just so beautiful. That shade right here, you can build it up, but in person, it's like fluorescent. Like you can kind of see it on there. It's very, very bright. So beautiful. They are my dream collaboration brand. I love them so much. I just think everything that they do is right on point with like my vibes and what I like. The Poison Garden theme is so cool. The Secret Garden was so cool. I literally loved the Secret Garden book, and when I was looking at the shade names in this one, I just smiled the whole time because it reminds me of that. I don't know if that's what they were going for. I'm sure it might have been, but I don't want to, you know, be wrong and make a claim like that, but truly, they're the brand, one of the brands at least. There's several that I'm excited for, but they're one of the brands that I am the most excited for in 2025. But let me know down below what brands you're the most excited for, and if you don't feel like typing a bunch of palettes, let me know what your top 5 were. I cannot wait to hear from you. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this ranking. I really hope you guys like this video. I usually love rankings, and I've been excited for this ranking all year long. But to be honest, I'm so glad that it's over now, because like I mentioned in the beginning part of this video, this will be my last time talking about Ensley Reign for the foreseeable future because of the things that happened. It does feel tainted to me now, and now I can't even look at these palettes without feeling sad, and that sucks. I spent a lot of money on these palettes because Ensley Reign isn't cheap, and now I can't even look at them without feeling sad by it all and betrayed. So it definitely left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm actually really happy to have this video over with. I'm happy that 2024 is over with. I had some great things happen to me last year. A lot of you guys, I've met you. My channel has grown so much, and I could never thank you guys enough for all of your love and support. I wouldn't be here without you. And you are the freaking best ever, and I'm happy to be here, but I'm also glad that 2024 is over and we get to start anew. I cannot wait to see what some of my favorite brands release this year. I can't wait to discover new brands. I've already discovered one, and it's the one I'm wearing on my face, which that video will be coming up very soon. But thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way till the end. If you loved it, please give it a thumbs up. My camera literally decided to shut off in the last 5 seconds of the video. But anyways, what I was saying, if you're not subscribed yet, I really do hope you will. We're going to have a great year. And until next time, bye.